Well, guys, welcome. We obviously excited to get back at it and excited about the opportunity of getting into league play, which is huge. You know, it's kind of like a new season. It's you know, what do we take from the past? We learn from the past as we move forward to the present and get ready for Mountain Conference play. And you know, in the Mountain West Conference right now, there's a lot of teams and a lot of people kind of juggling for where they're going to be. And obviously that's always fun as you kind of get into the early parts of play. So we're really looking forward to that. And, you know, our guys had a really good off week. I thought we got a lot done fundamentally, and a look forward to the future on some future opponents as we work through this stretch. And there was good competition, and I think we were able to get some guys back. You know, on the injury front, you know, Charles Lovett will go today, full go, and we'll see, you know, kind of how that goes a little bit. But we're excited about that, and what he may bring, you know, as a boost from a explosive standpoint to our offense. You know, some guys that needed some time to just handle some nicks and you know, normal wear and tear. I think we were able to do that, you know, well with the off week. Guys that are going to be still out a little bit, Deontay Clyburn, who has made huge strides, but I doubt that we'll be able to play him this week yet. Yet he's actually probably 2 weeks ahead of where we hoped. And Nolan Peralta, who got his eggs scrambled a little bit in that last game. You know, precautionary, will hold him out today. Kind of really looking for him Wednesday to kind of see where he's at. But really, other than that, you know, Donnell still has that wrist and fingers, but, you know, he's been playing with it. Bernard Blake's all the way back. Max Morgan with that shoulder, who you wouldn't even have known he really had it based on how he played in the last game, and yet that speaks volumes for his toughness and commitment. And we were able last week to really take some time off on that. So expect him to be back full strength. Looking at the opponent, this San Jose State team has some very explosive players, and it all is generated obviously with their quarterback David Fales. That just another one of those quarterbacks in this league that is high on a lot of people's draft lists, and deservedly so. He's a guy that can fit the ball when he gets his feet set in any window, given his explosive plays in this last week. You know, when they were down a little bit to Hawaii and then came back, were direct correlation to how he delivered the football to people on time in small windows, and was able to create some explosive plays. And you know, he's a guy that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. He is I've got the utmost respect for him, and watching him up close and personal a year ago, he's gotten just that much better in his decisions and in how he does things. You know, they've got on defense, they have some skill. They have a pass rusher, obviously their linebacker, who makes a ton of plays. I mean, this guy, you kind of keep going back and say, how did he get there? You know, because he's always there on the play. And, you know, it's impressive. I like seeing guys play with that kind of energy and that kind of passion. Obviously, they're getting a cornerback that's really, you know, one of the best players in the league, you know, this week. And so definitely got our hands, or our hands are going to be full. But as I go back to it, you know, it's about how we practice today, how we practice tomorrow, how we practice the next day. And really come game time, you know, it's how we approach it, you know, one play at a time. And you know, this will be a huge test for our guys to see where they're at. I say that not tongue-in-cheek, but I say that from the standpoint of it's our opportunity to make a statement. What kind of statement are we going to make? And so it'll be exciting.
How nice is there any benefit to being the last team to actually play a conference game? You have a bye week, so you had a chance to maybe take a look around what was going on.
Yeah, the benefit is when you look at the Mountain West standings, we're up there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that makes you feel good, right? So, you know, I don't know that there's a benefit one way or the other. I think when you look at the stretch of Mountain West Conference games, you know, may become a little arduous, where you would hope maybe you had a little break in between, you know, somewhere. But at the same time, that's the way the schedule is, so that's what we've got to do. But you know, as you look at it, the last ones to open up play and last ones to make a statement.
Is that the way you sell to your team? This is our time. This is what you've been playing for.
That's exactly right. And you know, I think there's a lot of things that this program over the years here. You know, it's time, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to, and that's our responsibility. It's my responsibility, and yet our guys got to understand, you know, the challenge ahead of us is at some point there comes a time where you need to change the way people think. You are responsible for changing the way people think, and think of you, and you know, this is our opportunity.
Fresh start. I mean,
yeah.
Not too many teams get to do what you guys just did, where you play your whole non-conference, have a week off. Now you go into a conference season. It's 0-0. It's a clean slate, and everybody else already has some wins, losses up there. Just how exciting is that for you and your program to have kind of almost a mid-season reset here? You know,
I like I told our guys is look, the time that we just had our training wheels on, okay. We now get to take our training wheels off and ride on two wheels, and hopefully we can get to where we take one of those wheels off and learn how to ride a unicycle, right? But that is something that we've obviously talked about, and I think it's very important that look, there are no do-overs anymore. There are no mulligans, and the only mulligans you get is when you play golf with me. All right.
How many do you get?
You know, as many needed.
Okay.
Depends on what I need to win the game, right? No, I think it's a good thing. Now, how we approach it, how the leaders step up and challenge each other, because at this point, guys, is everybody that sits in this team meeting room, they know who the guys that are into it, and they know the guys that aren't into it. The key is now is to get the guys that are into it to challenge those who aren't. And what I mean by not into it, I mean they're all committed to it, but I'm talking about when it's going, what it takes every single day. And we've got a lot of guys stepping up, and it's good to see.
On paper, this looks to be a close game, just statistically looking at the rundown of where do you guys stand both in the conference and in the national, both for you and for them. Do you see it that way? Do you see this as playing out to be a very close game?
I think absolutely, you know, and I think that they're probably going to come in with, you know, a pretty good attitude based on what they did to us a year ago, you know, that says, you know, guys, this is a game that we should win, and I'm sure they're saying that, and you know, that's where I kind of come back to it. There comes a time in everybody's life where it's time to take a stand and change what people think, and that's really where we're at right now. And I look at it as a statement. It should be a fun game for the fans. It should be one of those, you know, a homecoming weekend on a beautiful fall day that I hope a lot of people come out and get an opportunity not only to see their Rams, but see a guy that they're going to watch on Sundays in their quarterback.
Did you, Stephen, actually watch the game live? And what struck you about San Jose this year? They look different to me than they did last year, and I think the injuries have had something to do with that.
I do. I think, you know, from a schematic standpoint, they aren't sitting in as much pistol as they did a year ago, you know. But with what they have, they spread the field. They create explosive plays, and it showed in that game, you know, when they were down a little bit, which, you know, look, anybody who goes to Hawaii and wins has some resolve, because that's a tough place to play. And I've seen that up close and personal a couple times. And, you know, for them to especially get down, right, and then not panic, and I think that's really a credit to that quarterback and what they were able to do.
I know they've had some injuries at wide receiver. They obviously lost Grigsby and
Mhm.
Connor didn't play that game. But the run game was something they struggled with. They kind of got that going in
Yeah.
the second half. What struck you about the backs that they're using now and how they employ them?
You know, the explosive nature in which, you know, those guys are able to hit those creases, and what they do is they force you out of the box, because, you know, you don't want to leave your guys on islands with a quarterback that can fit it in a window like this. So they're doing a great job of taking advantage of box count. And he's doing a lot of that himself, which shows his experience of playing the position. I'm sure there's a lot of passes that are called that because of the count, he's actually putting them in run situations. And, you know, when you got a quarterback that will do that it isn't, oh, I've got the green light to throw it every down, but will actually, when the numbers give it, you'll check to some form of run, well, that tells you that guy's got command of the system. And that's what they're forcing you to do.
How big of a concern is that facing fails and knowing that you've had the tendency to give up some explosive plays?
Tendency? That's a tendency? You were being nice. I appreciate that.
Come on.
I consider that a fatal flaw, all right? But, you know, it's something I look forward, you know, as players when you talk to your team. I mean, it's about challenges. Now, what are you guys on the edge going to do to challenge yourself not to give up those explosive plays? Safeties, when you're supposed to be in the deep third of the field, get there. Don't leave your corner on an island. You know, a lot of those type of things. So, you know, I think that's the fun part, because now you get to go on a Saturday, you get to put a plan in, and now you get to go challenge yourself and see where you're at. And this is a huge challenge.
You talked about Shaq Barrett challenging guys last week or 2 weeks ago. Who else would you hope would step up?
You know, I hope Weston challenges this offense to maintain consistency and not go in those 3 and outs where they look like they're in zombie land. You know, it drives me crazy because there's no reason to, right? But that leadership needs to, I think Garrett needs to continue his growth, and with that, you know, be able to create a few plays here and there that keep us on the field. I think I'd really like to see that from an offensive standpoint. And then, you know, the continued communication in the secondaries between Kevin Pierre and Trenton Matthews, you know, which helps everybody around him. You know, I'm getting at, just like to continue that.
Jim, you just talked about Garrett stepping up. What are the things that he has done better these last few games? In particular, and what does he need to do to take it to the next level?
Well, I think one of the things he's done is created study habits within the plan. You know, the key to taking a test, I mean, you're going to, every Saturday, it's a beautiful thing about what we do. Every Saturday we take a test in front of the public. Think about the test you guys had to take in chemistry class, but no one knew your grade except you and the teacher, right? Because maybe they posted them, but it was by some kind of student ID number, and you just kind of passed by there and kind of went, you know, God, I don't want to, you know. But you could always tell the ones that got good grades because they're staring at it, right? You know what I'm getting at? All right? We take a test every Saturday in front of the public, and it gets reported on. All right? We're the only students on campus that do that. And everybody in the country knows whether we passed or whether we failed. So part of the key in taking a test is you need to create a study habit that gives you the answers to the test. That doesn't mean going into the garbage can and trying to get the answers. That means putting the work in, so when I get that question, when I get that defense, when I get that look, when there are certain guys in a certain area, I trigger right now to know where to go with it. That's what he has done a much better job of. and his command therein obviously helps him look a heck of a lot more confident.
How important has that been to the overall offense?
Well, anytime you're quarterback, I mean, just take a look at great teams. If they got a quarterback, you got a chance to be great. Doesn't matter what you have around you. You know, that is the one position that can elevate the whole team. It can help your special teams, your defense, and obviously your offense. And understanding the importance of that, not to the point that you freak yourself out, but to the point that, you know what, I've got to hold myself accountable to help this team, and how do I do that? That's in my preparation going in. I think he's done a much better job of that.
I guess the final thing is just how has that been for you to see, given that he was really not very good those first 2 games, catching a lot of flack. I know you said he was better than we saw because of all the drops and things like that, but for him to have gone from what he was there to what he is now, what's that say about him just in his character?
You know, I'm excited for his growth, and yet he hasn't even scratched the surface, in my opinion, as to where he can be. But with that, the guys around him need to play better, and they have, and that's, I think, correlated with his numbers. And I think when you break it down and you look at the guys that should have caught balls that wrapped off their hands, that obviously go on his record, you know, it's not great, and yet it's also part of the responsibility of playing the position. So I didn't expect him to go any way but up. I didn't expect him to take a step back and feel sorry for himself. He never has. That's not who he is. It's not what he's all about. And yet I think he's done a good job of accepting the responsibility of the position, and that's showing in what he's done the last couple games, and then we'll see how he does this game.
You look at your tackle for loss numbers this year, they're up. The oddity of them is your leader last year in sacks and tackles for loss has none this year, Corey James. And yet Shaq Barrett has played really well and kind of filled that role. It's actually at a better pace.
I think you asked me this question last year when Shaq's production wasn't quite where Corey's was, if I'm right. It was somebody. Was it you?
It could have been me.
Yeah, I got you. But I tell you what I think that is one of the things. Corey can do a great job for us in space. So he's not, last year, you know, look, as a young player, here, you go stand over here. Don't think about anything but sick them. All right? Now, as you know, I was very disappointed in his non-production in plays other than those those splash plays, where he's actually playing better right now than he ever did at any point last year. And because of what he's doing might free Shaq up to make those plays. And yet his unselfish nature, I think, he's playing so much better than he did a year ago. And that's where, guys, as you know, in our program, we reward the things that don't show up in the box score. You know, how did you advance the runner? You know, what was it that you did to create the wild pitch or the missed throw to first because you were, you know, you're a threat or whatever that is. And, you know, I set the screen to get the guy the shot. That doesn't go up in the box score, but so those are the things, and Corey's doing a great job of that.
I was going to ask, how much is it based off of reputation? Because our teams, because of what Corey did last year, are they focused on him? And because you had to use Shaq in some different areas.
We did.
How much more is he freed up to do what he's been able to do this year as opposed to last year?
Yeah.
And how much it is teams are kind of more focusing on what Corey did last year, and that's also helping Shaq out be his productive.
Right. We had to obviously move Shaq inside a lot based on where we were at. And I think you can say that, you know, we're getting better play from the inside at times, which doesn't allow the double team on Shaq. And then it allows Corey to use his athletic ability in space a little bit, which has helped us with those vertical routes down the seams and those type of things. But, you know, as we play now some more throw-oriented teams, you know, now you start to get into nickel, dime, dollar where he's going to have to be more of a threat up front, you know, in a rush capacity, just based on the type of offensive schemes we're going to see.
So do you think it'll balance out a little bit now? I mean, they can start playing more off each other. And obviously, teams are going to start looking at Shaq to try and stop him. Should that not free up Corey?
I sure hope so, and should free up, you know, some other guys as well. You know, in a perfect world, what you'd like to see happen is you'd like to be able to get pressure with 4 guys, so you're not sitting there leaving your guys on an island having to blitz them. I mean, as you know, last year, just to get somebody to move their feet, we had to bring everybody plus the band, you know, and what ends up happening is there's a lot of guys running free out there, right? And but you know, I'm looking for, as we move now into this with what Shaq has done, you know, I don't want to discount how good Corey's playing, because he's really playing well.
I want to ask you that because it's an interesting dichotomy. Last year, he thought he was playing great, and you kept saying, you're not doing enough. And I think that confused him at some point. He was a freshman. This year, people are going to go, God, where'd he go? But you're telling us he's playing better. How's he handled that mentally, knowing what his role is, and how much has he grown up to know what he's doing is really well if his numbers aren't where they were last year?
Because the film speaks volumes. As I say, be proud of what you put on film. And the team sees it. And ultimately, the respect of your peers based on how you're playing, and the respect of coaches that say, you know what, this guy, look, he's playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. Yeah, I know he doesn't have, and you know, from a box score standpoint, but he has grown immensely because, you know what, we're not sitting in here saying, how come you're taking those 9 plays in a row off? Because he's playing hard every down, and that's really what it's all about.
How do you find time with Levitt back to keep Hansley as a primary coach?
You know, what we'll be able to do with Joe now is actually play him both at Z and X when Charles comes into slot, and really this week in practice is going to be huge on that, to see how much of a load Charles is going to be able to take when we get into blue personnel and even red personnel. And then hopefully what it does, because Joe's taken a lot of snaps now on a he's a guy that benefited from this week. You know, I mean, he's hurt and he's playing. You know, I mean, so taking some blows off of some guys, I think, is where you're really going to see it. And then being able to have those guys on the field at the same time, even in silver, I think is going to be good for us.
Where's Jordan at?
He's still this week probably not, but hopefully we're shooting for next week. And he's been doing a great job in rehab now. I mean, I've been proud of him. I mean, he refused to wear tennis shoes ever out to practice. I mean, the guy, I gave him a hard time, and he said, I'm wearing cleats. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to back down. So.
How is Kevin Davis doing? I take it if Deontay's out, is he back?
Yeah.
And Max is back up, and is this the? I know
You know,
right away, but how's he coming along?
I tell you what, he took a little dip, not structurally or anything like that, but with the magnitude of what that knee injury was, for him to bounce the way he did says a lot about him. And yet at the same time, he's still a couple steps. He's not where he was a year ago, even as a true freshman. So, you know, part of that's still wait to see. We had a little bit of a setback, nothing that was surgical or anything like that, but enough that put a question in his mind. And as I've said, I will never put a guy out there that's not, you know, totally all in.
It seems like when you have had injuries this year, they come in rashes at the same spot.
Yeah.
You look at that spot
Yeah,
now.
that's
You've
right.
got Max, Deontay, Peralta. You're saying Kevin's not all the way back. You had it with the receivers. You had it with the D linemen early.
Really, the best thing that could happen is maybe we had it in our coaching staff.
I mean, are you concerned about the linebackers?
Yeah, I am.
Those guys?
I am a little bit. However, with the couple games that we have coming up, the personnel type that you're going to match on defense is not as
More nickel diamond.
probably important as if we were playing one of those, you know, pound you downhill deals. And so from that standpoint, it's probably not as dramatic as maybe you'd think. But now as we move forward in this, we need some of those guys to get back.
How was last week though? It just seems like overall injury-wise, this has not been a bad year by any stretch, but
Yeah.
they've kind of come in these clusters in certain position groups where it creates an issue.
You know, and it's weird too, is, you know, where before it was like the rash of the same type of injury.
Right.
You know, I think,
High ankle
yeah,
sprain.
whatever, you know, I mean, high ankle sprain, whatever it was. And yet, you know what, I think you can credit the work that they put in the offseason and the complete program that our guys are doing down in the strength and conditioning and rehab area, as far as seeing that, you know, the constant year-and-a-half evolution. And injuries, guys, happen. I mean, you can't avoid them. And yet, the rash in the same spots have been kind of shocking. But truly, our numbers are kind of down, you know?
When it fails, you're going to probably face a quarterback's got the strongest arm you'll probably see this year.
Yeah.
But what's the key? I know you'd like to get sacks, but do you just have to mess with his footwork? Do you have to put pressure on him? Because that seems when Hawaii had success with him is when they were getting, at least making him move in the pocket.
I think our biggest thing is not to allow him just to get his feet set, you know, because when his feet are set and he's on rhythm, he's tough to stop. So how do you knock him out of rhythm? You've got to pressure the inside of the pocket. You've got to do some things that he has to at least move and then throw. And really it's a matter of trying to throw off his timing. He does a great job of getting the ball out of his hands. But really getting him off his mark, I guess, is really the way to say it.
His completion percentage is down this year. What do you see there?
You know, I think there's been, through some of the injuries he has had, you know, where is that consistent go-to guy? You know, a little bit like we were going to. You know, when Joe went down and then, you know, guys are dropping the ball. Where is your get-out-of-jail-free card? You know, where's Russ Welker? You know, where is that guy, right? I think maybe that has some to do with it more than anything. And I'll say this as well. It's a year of people studying in the off season him, because they made themselves relevant as a program, and he made himself relevant as a player. So I look at that as somebody's really studying you in the off season as to what we're going to do, and that's a credit to him as a player.
Does it surprise you a little when you look at that team and what they had last year, what they have coming back, that they're a 2-3 team and not 4-1, 5-0?
Well, you know, you sit there and watch it. I mean, Stanford's a pretty good ball squad. You know, they went down and played at Minnesota and went toe-to-toe with a big physical outfit, and then, you know, played a Utah State team that, I mean, those guys are good. And so, yes, and yet at the same time, no, where, you know, you've got to stay healthy in the right spots, and it's hurt them. And yet with that guy, he can keep them in every game because of who he is.
You talked a little bit about their defense. Obviously, they lost a really good pass rusher
Yeah.
last year with Travis Johnson. The linebacker, though, I think is the first guy in 6 years to have 20-plus tackles back-to-back games.
Yeah. He's everywhere,
Talk a little
man.
bit about their defense and
You
how-
know what? He has 20 tackles, and I have not done this yet. And I will at the end of the week, you know, when you have a little more time. I think they missed a couple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I really do. Because it's like every time the piles unload, here's how did you get there, right? You know what I mean? And it's pretty fascinating. But yeah, and what they're doing with them is they're letting him play, and they're doing a pretty good job up front. They're again holding point so he can get over the top and go make some plays.
How do you worry about a guy like that, and how do you neutralize him?
Yeah, you worry about him disrupting the game, and that's what he does. He disrupts the flow. He creates chaos, you know, and then in turn creates negative plays, which obviously for us, we struggle overcoming the negative plays. So a guy like that disrupting on first or second down and putting you in that long yardage situation you worry about. And, you know, we need to be aware of the front and the looks as to when he's in a disruptive mode based on our film study. You know.
Coach, the new on-campus stadium renderings came out on Thursday. Did you have a chance to look at them?
I actually did. I looked at them after somebody, you asked me about them, or somebody did last week. Yeah, on was it?
And so,
yeah.
Even though you like to stay current, we know that it's, you know, what can you do this week, what can you do this play. With your bye week, did you take a couple of minutes to kind of daydream, think about, oh man, how cool that would be to be in that stadium,
Yeah.
your team out onto that field?
You know, I definitely, it's something, and again, it wasn't a daydream for myself in any stretch of imagination. It was a daydream for what this can do for this community and what it can do for this university, the downtown area, and all the things that go along with what is excellence. And that's really what puts a smile on my face and a warmth in my heart. And, you know, I look forward to that day, being able to come out from that tunnel. There's no doubt about it. And yet, at the same time, we got a long ways to go before we get there, and we got to win some games.
I know it's a while before you play Utah State, but how does the loss of Chucky Keaton for Utah State affect your impression and how things shape up?
You know, I haven't really looked much as far as how it affects anything other than I just feel sick about it. I called Maddie, Coach Wells, just when after it happened, and when I found out that he was and only because this guy was a joy to watch, man, and the way he affected the team, the total team. It goes back to what we talked about, the quarterback position, and he was a lot of fun to watch now. And I feel bad whenever something happens, especially to a guy that, you know, of that caliber, and has that much effect. But I know they've got a lot of good players there. They've done a really good job of building that program. And you know what? It'll be interesting to see who steps up for them. And, you know, that's down the road, and we'll worry about that week. But I just feel really bad about it.
Jim, when you look at the Mountain West Conference right now, does it surprise you how kind of comparable everybody is? There's not, with the exception of Fresno, nobody's really a dominant team in this conference, and yet it looks like it truly is one of those where almost anybody can beat anybody. And how does that make you feel about your team going into it?
Well, you know, this is our opportunity to make a statement and move that statement forward for the relevance of Colorado State University in this football program. And that's what makes it fun. All right? Good, guys.
Thanks.
A fresh start on the season, because everything from here on out is conference play, and that's where you guys kind of put your eggs.
Yeah, we do. It's a totally fresh start. You know, our first non-conference games, those are good. You know, warm-up and tune-ups. But conferences, that's where it all counts.
How do you guys? I mean, obviously last week you had shorter practices. It was a relaxing week. It was your bye week. How do you now transition into focusing again for your game on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it'll be easy for us because, yeah, we got during the week we got to get off our feet a little bit, shorter practices. But this weekend, I talked to a lot of guys and all we wanted to do was play. We're sitting at home watching college football and we're like, dang, I wish we had a game. So now we finally get back on the field. So it'll be easy transition.
How excited is this team about just having a fresh start at this point in the season?
Yeah, we're very excited. We look at our schedule coming up. We know it's a tough one, but we're excited to just attack it head on and win the conference. So.
Was there a lot of talk throughout those first 5 games about wait till conference comes, wait till conference comes?
No, there really wasn't, because we focus on every game. You know, the next game is the most important game to us. So whoever we have next on our schedule, that's the only game that we're looking for.
Coach Mack talked to us about making a statement. This is your time. I don't know if he's already talked to you guys about that, but I'm sure you're going to hear that this week. What's your reaction to that?
You know, as long as we come ready to play every week, we're going to make a statement. If everybody stays focused, we're on the same page, and we play every down like it's our last, we're going to make a statement.
How ready is this team for conference play? I mean, what do you feel like you guys have improved on over those first 5 games? What are the areas that you still think you need to build up to make the run that you want to?
Over the first 5 games, I think we built on our identity. We're starting to find out our identity, what we can do, and just going into conference, we're just gonna bring it at every game and play as hard as we can.
Do you think with you winning the award last week that you're going to garner a lot more attention from their defense? Are you worried about your passes that you're going to get covered for interview?
I'm not really worried, because I have full faith in Coach Baldwin and Coach Mack. Those guys are, they're offensive geniuses, so they know how to move people around. And you know, there's plenty of guys who can catch passes on our offense. So I'm not worried at all.
They've got a world-class linebacker, Keith Smith, that is making 20 tackles a game, almost, it's ridiculous numbers. When you go into a game and there's a guy that can be that disruptive and you might have to help out, blocking him, etc. I mean, what's the mindset?
The only mindset is do your job. If your job is to block him, then you block him and you do your job. Because if you don't do your job, if one person is not doing their job, then the whole play might be dead. So.
You feel like you have an added incentive for a guy like that, though? It's like step the game up and make a mark on this guy that everybody knows about.
Yeah, you definitely have to be on your A game with him, because he will come hard and he's a great linebacker. But at the end of the day, it just comes to doing your job, and whatever it takes to do your job, you do it.
Kivon, how much confidence did the offense gain from that UTEP win that you guys carried now through this bye week, because of the numbers you guys were able to put up and the things you were able to do in that game?
Yeah, this is something that Coach Mack and Coach Baldwin, they've been preaching to us since day one. Everybody has to do their job, and everybody has to be on the same page. And I feel in UTEP, we've been working hard, and it finally clicked. And I think it registered in a lot of people's mind, like, if everybody does do their job, then we're a hard offense to stop.
How much, certainly Garrett, everybody was on him big early in the season. He's obviously made pretty good progression. What can you say about what you've seen in the growth of him during the course of this season?
Of Garrett?
Garrett.
Oh yeah, Garrett, just his confidence back there, just being calm, being a leader in the huddle. And I have full confidence that he can make any throw on the field at any time. So at any time, that there's a big shot called, all I know is if everybody does their job up front, he's going to be calm in the pocket and he can make the throw every time.
Is he doing things differently than he was those first 2 games, you think, or not?
No, it's just we've all been working hard, but it's just starting to fall into place and things are just starting to click.
Okay. Plays up your sleeve this week you want to tell us about?
No, sir.
When Coach did come in and talk about this, change people's minds, what they think of you guys, what do you think people think of this program in the conference?
As far as I'm concerned, it's not my opinion to say what people think, nor do a lot of us really don't care what they think, because we know what we have as a group. We know I know the guys in my locker room, and really that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what fans think. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's about what we have and what we're going to do.
And what is that?
We're going to come every game prepared, and we're gonna play our hardest.
Do you like the way do you feel like it's a perfect setup schedule-wise? You got to learn from your mistakes without it really costing you in terms of conference play the first 5 weeks. Now you got to kind of lay it all out. Do you think that works to this team's advantage?
Yeah, I definitely think it does, because our first few games, they were non-conference. They're important to us because every game is important to us, but it doesn't count towards conference play. And then you get those games out of the book, and then we got a nice bye to regroup and see exactly what we need to work on, and then rest up before conference so we could attack conference strong.
As an offense, what were the biggest things you guys worked on this past week?
It was just we just kept doing what we were doing. You know, it was the same scripts, and everybody came to work. I felt during the bye week, everybody on offense and defense, we came to work. We didn't just come out here to get through a practice or anything. We came to work and get better.
This week being homecoming, do you think it's an opportunity for you all to win over the town? The first tee in your 1 tee?
Yeah, definitely. Everybody wants to have a good homecoming weekend, and I mean nobody wants to lose their homecoming football game. That's kind of that's a downer on the whole university. So yeah, I'm hoping that everything just goes good, and we will get some more fan support from this game.
A lot of people aren't aware you guys have a 5-game home winning streak. Is the team aware of that? You talked about that, saying, hey, we got something going here. Let's keep after it.
Yeah, that was something that we built on from last year, from the end of last season, because we won our home games. So when we're playing at home, we know that it's an advantage, and we know how to play at home. We know the field, we know everything. So yeah, that is something that's positive for us.
Last week, Matt said you are becoming more of a complete player. You're blocking more at the point of attack. How do you feel about your own progress this year?
My own progress, I've just been working hard, and I just been trying to do everything I can to do my job pretty much. And if my job calls for blocking at the point of attack, that's just what I'm trying to do.
Do you think you can still improve?
Yeah, definitely. I can always improve.
Are you working towards?
Yes, constantly.
Are you seeing gains as the season moves on in yourself?
Yeah, I'm seeing gains with my blocking, my footwork, my on the receiving end, but there's always room for improvement, and I won't stop. So I'll keep improving and keep working hard.
From a player standpoint, as you look at San Jose State, they're obviously just 2-3, but they've got most of those guys back from that team that won 11 games last year. Do you guys have to remind yourselves that? Do you focus more on last year's San Jose State team and knowing what they were able to do against you guys than you do on what they've necessarily done in these past 5 games?
Yeah, you would definitely, because that was a great team last year. They won 11 games. No average team wins 11 games, in Division I. So they got a lot of those returning players. Those are guys that know how to win, obviously. So we're definitely not underestimating them with their record this year. So we're just trying to work hard and beat them.
You work really closely with the offensive line, obviously, because you're part of what their scheme is. How much improved is that group of 5, and how important are they to the gains you've made on offense the last few weeks?
Oh, it's been huge. It's nice when you're in motion and you have to pick up, or when they're calling out calls and you have to get it immediately, because everybody's on the same page. And I know if I'm coming across in motion, I have to block somebody, they're gonna give me a signal. I'll know exactly who I need to block, and just up front, just their leadership, they know exactly what's going on. And when the game, is on the line, when we need a big drive, everybody knows we're gonna put it on the O-line and they're gonna get it done.
We've been led to believe that that's a group that has improved. Where have you seen it? What are they doing better this year?
They're communicating better. They're moving the line of scrimmage on the run game, and they're firing off the ball like they've never had before. But the communication is big. When they're communicating, everybody, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're just firing off the ball to go do it.
Is that maybe why they're firing off the ball better? Is that they do know what they're doing before the snap count?
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can play a lot faster. You don't second guess yourself, and I think that comes to film. I'll come here sometimes and I'll see Baird watching film, then I'll see Ty the next day, and I'll see Brandon, and that's just on their own time, late at night after everything. So I think they're really stepping up leadership wise, and they know what they're doing.
Last year and this year, one of you guys' biggest bugaboos has been third down conversions and sustained drives. Finally, against UTEP, you guys, I think, went 7 or 11. It was the best you've done, I think, in the last 2 years. How did you play more consistently and sustain drives, and how do you do that again this week?
All we do really, Coach Baldwin, he always has a great third down, third and short, game plan. Well, all it comes down to is executing his calls. Whatever he calls, we just got to execute it, and everybody has to be on the same page and know exactly what's going on. So I think that's what we did in UTEP. He called a play, and everybody broke the huddle. We knew exactly what to do, when to do it, and we just converted and made plays. So I think that's just what we have to do to go forward.
Is that just kind of something that you guys are picking up as time goes on?
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, that's what they've been preaching since day one, and it's starting to sink in, it's starting to click, and everybody, and we've seen the results from listening to them. So, yeah.
You guys good? A new role now? get where you
Unofficially.
practice color for the press conference, or did it just kind of happen?
It just kind of happened, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was just
So how scary is David Fales if you don't put pressure on him this week?
Well, just like any player, when you really don't contain him and you don't do your job, there's going to be some threats, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on the defense.
Is it a little bit more though with him, considering this is probably a quarterback with the strongest arm you're going to see?
Sure.
He's not afraid to put it in a tight window, and you saw what he did to you guys last year.
Sure. Yeah. So for a lot of guys on at least on the defensive front, we got a lot of returners like Ellie Edwards and Calvin Tonga and myself who have experienced him last year, and seen the kind of potential he has as an athlete. So that, along with the preparation we put in during our bye week and moving forward this week, we'll be in a better position to address that and really contain him and keep him from making plays on us like he has in the past.
Chris, just how excited are you guys for the fresh start that conference play gives you? You're 0-0.
Sure, real excited. If you look at like the beginning of our season, all the non-conference games, you're making a lot of adjustments early in the season. Hopefully iron out a lot of the kinks moving in towards conference games, so you feel like you're putting your best foot forward moving into the games that really count.
Does it seem kind of weird you are the last team to play a conference game?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, on the positive side, we've had a lot of time to put that extra preparation into really making sure that we're ready to go.
What was the biggest thing that you guys gained from your bye week? I mean, obviously you had shorter practices and a lot of relaxation, but what can
Sure.
you say you gained from that?
I think the mentality going into bye week is we need to get work done, and we need to keep making strides to being a better football team as a whole. So you see a lot of guys during the bye week working hard, not just taking the week off. And with that extra effort, that extra work, we were able to not just take it as a week to get our legs back, but also to start making preparations towards moving into conference game.
What were the biggest points of emphasis for the defense during the bye week?
Like I said, not taking it as a week off, but in particular containing the quarterback, making sure we put a lot of pressure, and not just with blitzes and all that, but being able to put pressure on them with our base defense.
Jim talked that this is your chance to change people's minds, the way that they think about you. How do you think people outside your program view Colorado State football, and what would you like them to think after this next 9-game run?
Sure. We're in the position to win some ball games as a university, as a town, and so there's a lot of excitement and the possibilities of what the future can hold. And hopefully with all these wins, you see a lot more of the bandwagon fans tagging along, which is always nice. So it'll be exciting. But as far as what we can control, is play ball games and win, put on a good show.
What do you think people think of you though right now? When people view this program from outside, what do you think that they see you as?
To be honest with you, it hasn't really been a thought that's come to mind. Just focusing on what I can control, and let the chips fall where they may.
This being homecoming weekend, is this an opportunity for you guys to win over the town?
Sure.
That first tee and it's one TTD.
Sure, definitely. This is a big game, and we've had a little bit of extra preparation from the bye week, so it'll be exciting to see what kind of results we can produce.
Max said last week that he was looking forward to the bye week because he was actually hoping to have some more hands-on time directly with the starting units. Do you feel like that happened last week?
Definitely.
Was a little bit more and having a little fun with it? Or?
Yeah, there's a little bit less pressure during bye week because you have that extra week to prepare, and so taking off the pressure of all that, it was nice to be able to talk to coaches one-on-one, a slower tempo to kind of focus on the game.
When Coach Mack says it's your time to make a statement, change the perception, etc., is that the kind of thing you guys want to hear from a coach, or is that extra personal?
No, I mean it's nice, you're going out there to work hard, and that's kind of the mentality we've had is to change the way people think, and really turn the tide, and see what we can do in conference play.
Do you go back and watch last year's tape of San Jose State's game, or is that something you'd rather not see again? You know what I'm getting at?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've watched a little bit of film from last year, but I think the main focus is focusing on the here and the now. So kind of focusing on what we're going to see this Saturday, even though there are going to be a lot of returners and a lot of the same faces.
Are you a little surprised based on what you saw from them last year, that team,
Yeah, that is a little bit of surprise, but you know they're going to be coming out Saturday and ready to play a ball game and win. So there's going to be a lot more pressure on them to come out here and perform at their best. So that's something we're going to have to match and you know come out and let them know we're not the same team we were last year.
Does that make them a little more dangerous too, though, because you know that potential's there? You watched those guys do it a year ago.
Sure. I mean they should be scared too though because we got a lot of potential that we can show moving into conference.
When you look at your you're doing much better against the run this year, and before you faced an option team. How encouraged are you by that? And then, second part, San Jose State did get a run game going kind of in the second half against
Sure.
Tie those two things in together, how you're playing better and how you stop them.
Sure. Moving into this week, there's a lot of confidence in what we can perform against the run game. Specifically speaking, from a defensive line and what we've coached from Coach Loop for our defensive line coach is the priority is stopping the run game. And so I think that the confidence we've been able to build in early season is going to be able to help meet the challenge of this week's game.
Were you impressed by the way they were kind of able to run? I mean, I don't know. Did you watch the Hawaii San Jose State game?
I didn't. I saw bits and pieces of it, but I didn't watch it from start to finish. So
whatever run game you saw out of them, were you impressed by what they were able to generate finally for the first time?
From an offensive standpoint, I see that they got a lot of potential in the run game, and I know that moving in towards to pass rush when you're preparing for that, that's something that we're going to have to take a better look at as far as containing the quarterback, making sure and keep him in the pocket.
I know every defense always says you want to make a team one-dimensional. You want to stop the run, force
Sure.
the pass. Does that seem weird to do against a guy as talented as Phelps?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's kind of something you got to approach week by week. You know, and you're gonna have different obstacles with different teams. You know, different strengths and weaknesses, and stopping the run game, forcing them to pass, and then collapsing the pocket and making sure we can contain the quarterback is kind of a strategy. It's pretty general in most teams.
When it comes to rushing the passer, though, Coach Mack said that a lot of what you guys are doing in the middle is helping Shaq Barrett get free and
Sure.
get pressure on the quarterback and lead the nation in sacks. What have you guys done this year that's different or that's resulted in a better play in the middle, getting pressure on the quarterback?
Different, not much. You know, we had the same strategies going into it last year. I think the difference is a lot in the chemistry and the confidence we have in one another. You know, when you have all 11 guys playing together, you can see how different guys on the team can feed off of it, and you're not so pressured.
Does depth add to that?
That also helps, yeah. A lot of depth with experience. Sure.
I know you guys are doing a good job against the run this year, the numbers suggested, but is your job almost, you have to be much better at the pass rush, even if you're not getting sacked?
Sure.
Like you guys in the middle, specifically. Even if you're not getting sacks, you just have to make sure you're making Phil's move. Do you feel like that's your main goal, that it gets their pass game?
Sure. You know, we know that they like to pass the ball, so that's definitely going to be going into game planning and preparation. And how we prepare during the week is really emphasizing that.
Do you feel like you guys are in a better spot defending your quarterback this year because you've seen before, or is it?
Yeah,
or is it
definitely.
worse because he's more experienced than he was last year?
Well, yeah, I guess there's a little bit of both, but I think hopefully towards the end of the week, after all the preparation we put in, and like I said, like the experience that me, myself, and the rest of the defensive line, we feel more confident because this is something we've already seen before, that this time around we'd be more ready and capable of containing the quarterback.